Hi guys, have you ever found yourself stuck between being too strict or too soft as a parent? Or are you just tired of yelling all the time or giving in? If you're in this space, let's talk about it. Today we'll be talking about parenting and like every concept in life or every philosophical ideas in life, it can be two-faced. And today we'll be talking about the gentle parenting and the traditional parenting. In this video, I'll be talking about the definitions of gentle parenting and traditional parenting according to my opinion, where they both clash, and what happens if we try to merge them. Over the years, while we were growing up, traditional parenting seems to be like the goal of the day. And parents that were practicing gentle parenting back then seems like, oh, you're spoiling this child, or oh, you're allowing this child have their way. Because well, we won't blame our parents because they did not know better. But I think we know better and we want to do better. But is the definition of gentle parenting this day that we see everywhere? Is it what it actually is, or we are just doing permissive parenting, just allowing the children do what they want and get what they want? So today I'll be talking about both parenting style, and I'd like you to join me on this journey, very interesting journey. So what is traditional parenting? Traditional parenting is a authoritative kind of parenting. It has to do with, oh, you have to be obedient, you have to respect elders, you have to be disciplined. There were clear rules and hierarchy with traditional parent. Like if you don't respect the elders in your house, there was a consequence for it. It was a consequence based kind of parenting, and sometimes these consequences were punishment, or these consequences were how do I put it, imposed fear in the children other than teaching the children the lesson they should derive from that situation. It was all strict and it had to do with rules and regulations. You must follow the rules, you must follow the regulations. If you break the rules, the consequences are going to be at. It was really emphasizing more on behavior and not emotions. They didn't they were not trying to look at what led to that behavior or what led to the action the child carried. They were more of responding to that behavior, if you get what I mean. So if a child did anything wrong, instead of them to find out why the child did anything wrong, they were going to punish the child based on the action of the child, based on what that child did. For example, now, I'm not saying it's right for a child to steal, but for example, if a child stole, all they would do to the child that time was just punish the child either by beating or by serving severe punishment. But they wouldn't really ask the child why you stole. They wouldn't say, okay, why did you steal? Were you hungry? Did your parent not give you money? Or all those kind of things. So it was always based on response to action, and it left emotions out of it. There was no respect for the child's emotion mm, in that kind of parenting style, and it made the child really limited in how they could express their emotions, how express their feeling. And because of this, some children really grew up with low self-esteem. Some children were not exploring as they should because of the fear of, if I don't follow the rules, what will happen? you know for example, me, I said I didn't do some things because of what I saw them did to my elder ones. I saw how my elder ones were punished for some actions, and because of the fear of that punishment that I saw, like, if they could do this to my elder brother, I don't want them to do this to me. So you will just refrain. It didn't matter. That kind of parenting style didn't really care about what the child thinks or what the child does not think. It only matters what the parent thinks, and the child has to follow or go by that rules. Now, what is the difference with gentle parenting? For gentle parenting, is more of a relationship based approach. Now we are going to be in this kind of parenting skill. We will be emphasis on emotion, or the child's emotion, emphasis on respect, emphasis on empathy, emphasis of building connection with this child more than making the child follow the rules. Was is, or will I say was, or is important in gentle parenting. It focuses on communication, getting to know what happened or what's built up to that child's behavior. Not We are not just responding to the child's behavior alone. We are responding to the things that have brought that child to that space. For example, I used like a child that stole for traditional parenting. I will say that as well. For a traditional parent, once the child stole, it was just like punishment for that stealing. But the gentle parent will want to know why the child stole, and probably deal with that why, and put the child in a kind of safe space to say that, okay, feel safe to be able to communicate the action. But the downside about gentle parenting to my side is, it might look permissive, it might look like there are no boundaries. The way traditional parenting will set boundaries, that you cannot do this because this is the rule. That if you go beyond this rule, there were consequences for it. Because of that, if you're not careful with gentle parenting, excuse me, if you're not careful with gentle parenting, it might look very permissive. And if you're not careful with that, the child will think that they can do anything and go away with it. So it can be really dicey having to understand the core characteristics of this parenting style. Like I said, for traditional parenting, what are the core characteristics? It was clear hierarchy, there was authority. This is a parent and child relationship, and you have to be really obedient to the parent. There was obedience to rules and regulations. You have to abide by this rule and regulation. It was emphasis on misbehavior, like if you misbehave, this is the action, or this is the consequence, if you get what I mean. But for gentle parenting, it was more of emotional intelligence and self-regulation. They were open communication, discipline through guidance. It's not like discipline through punishment. We're like, I should don't do that again, and let's talk about it, that kind of thing. And it builds more encouragement and problem solving, that kind of thing. Like I said, using the thief, they were going to be trying to solve the problem of the how would I put it now, the problem of what led to the stealing, and not the stealing itself. So that's like the definition of both. So now we'll be talking about, where do these two clash? What is the clash between these two type of parenting skills? So now the clash between these two type of parenting skills are: one teaches structure and responsibility, the other one teaches empathy and respectful communication. The other one, children understand limit and consequences. And for, like I said, for gentle parenting, if you're not really thorough with it, your children might think it's just a permissive kind of parenting. And what are the challenges for this? Challenges of traditional parenting. A lot of children's emotion have been suppressed because they had to follow the rules and the regulations. They had to do what their parents said they should do, even though they didn't want to do it, or even though they had other ways that they could do it better, but they had to do it in that particular way that their parents do. So it didn't give children kind of expression. It didn't make children expressive. It just suppressed children. Secondly, it was mostly fear based. It was mostly fear based. You're not doing these things because you respected your parent or anything. Most times you were doing it for the fear of the consequences that will come from your parents to you. So it was mostly fear based. But for gentle parenting, it was more of communication based. You do it out of communication, and how do I put it now? F- um um Freelance or free will to be able to express your communication, your needs to your parents. You will not do it fearfully. And the last one, it was like I said, they eradicated totally the child's emotion. What the child was thinking was not there. But this one, the child's emotion was included. You discipline the child and read the child emotion while disciplining the child gracefully. No matter how bad each of these parenting style was, they had their own advantages, they had their own strength. And for traditional parenting, one of the strengths is it teaches the children structure and responsibility. The child understands the structure of the room and it has to be followed, and it gave the child a kind of sense of responsibility to everything that was going on in that family. The second one is the children understood limit and consequences. And I'm going to begin on consequences now, because I think one of the downsides to gentle parenting is because they don't understand consequences, and we see it playing in and out in our generation these days, especially children. They do things or go about doing things because they know that, well, nobody will beat me, nobody will yell at me. Especially if you're in places where um by their rules, there are limited things you could do to your children. You cannot eat, you cannot yell too much and all. Because of that, because the children understand that there are no consequences to anything that they do. They just do a lot of things, and we see the result in our generation these days. We see what children are doing out there. And the third advantage of the traditional parent was that he encouraged respect for authority. We had respectful children out there. We had respect for authority. You will not just go against authorities, because even the house that you are coming from, sorry, you had respect for the said authority in that home, and it reflected in the life of the children that went through traditional parenting. But what about the strength of the gentle parenting? Because both had their strength. So like I said, it promotes emotional regulations and trust. It gave those children real trust in their parents. In fact, you could come and tell your parent anything. I'm going to give a shout out to one of my big aunties now, Auntie Lara. I lived with her when I finished secondary school. You know that year you wait between secondary school and university. And sincerely, I enjoyed her parenting style by just looking at her. She didn't know I learned so much from her. I remember there was an incident. I'm not sure she remembered this incident. I think her daughter was I think 4 or 5 thereabout. And like she will always, when the daughter comes back from school, like she will always just ask her daughter, how did your day go in school and all. And that particular day, the girl just came home and said, my teacher said I wrote rubbish. And my auntie was like, if you understood that meaning, me when I was growing up, I cannot go home to tell my father that my teacher said I wrote rubbish. But because the kind of parenting style that she has encouraged has given the child total trust to be able to even come and say things that she's not supposed, like not like things that she's not supposed to say, but things that other children will be scared to say to their parent. A child could come and say that to her. And she put the child right correctly. She didn't yell, she didn't scream, she didn't shout at the child. But like, you don't go to school to write rubbish. You understand that this school is being paid for. Do you understand? You put in your best and all. So I'm sure that child that one will get stuck to the child more than she hitting the child or shouting at the child. Though hitting the child or shouting at the child may create like a solution to that particular problem. But if that child is having any other issue that supposed to come and tell the parent, she wouldn't be able to come and tell the parent. So that's like one of the downsides to traditional parenting. So for like I was like going back to like I was saying, I was talking about the advantage of gentle parent. I've digressed, but if you understand what I'm saying, it brings like it builds emotional trust and compatibility with children and parents. And the last one is it fosters independence and problem solving. Sometimes it's not goes all the beatings. When you talk to the child, children to have brain. They are not brainless. They have brain. They can process the information. And next time they want to do something, they rather remember what you have said and even try to use that thing that you have said to them into another situation, not just a one-time situation because you have said it and it has to be so, and it goes like that. So we get so I know. So now just to recap, I've defined it. I've talked about where both clashes. Now I'll be talking about my opinion is to have a balanced kind of parenting in these days and time is to merge both. So how can we merge both, and what are the benefits of us merging both?
I love you. Yeah, you set my soul on fire. It is not